You know, the state is a big state. It's got a long history. It's like turning around a battleship. It takes some time, particularly as citizens continue to demand and want high-quality services. So it does cost more in New York, and if you looked at some of the other states that you'd compare us to, the services that they receive aren't nearly what they are in the state of New York. And so you try to balance. I don't think New York will ever be the lowest cost state in the union, but I think the governor and I and many in the legislature are committed to trying to reduce that burden, recognizing we still have significant services to provide to people.
What great services are we getting for our taxes? The roads. Our tolls are continuously going up on the thruway when the tolls were supposed to have gone away years ago, and they're still full of potholes and needing repairs. The bridges are basically disintegrating. They need to be reconstructed.
I think, we have roads that need attention. We have bridges, even in our county, that have been closed for years, from shortly before we moved here, that still have not been repaired.
Look, people I don't think fully appreciate the size of the infrastructure in the state of New York. The roads and bridges cover literally hundreds of thousands of miles, and with the winters that we've had, which take a huge toll on that infrastructure. So if you lived in Arizona, you don't have the highs and lows in terms of temperature. You don't have the degree of precipitation that we have, particularly in upstate New York. So this year, the governor has proposed a massive infusion of dollars, largely from bank settlements, to begin to really do a significant repair of roads, bridges, mass transit systems, et cetera. So hopefully we'll be able to get more of a handle on that, and something that I've argued for. We have spent, unfortunately, too much of our money that's supposed to be set aside for infrastructure to pay for debt service, and instead it hasn't gone into road and bridge repair. It's a bill that I have that would change that. But look, if the governor is prepared and the legislature is prepared to invest $22 billion in our infrastructure, that's a significant down payment on the work that we have to do.
That's what the people who live along the Ontario State Parkway want to know. They pay taxes just like everybody else in New York State. And if you go up on those roads, on the Parkway, a section of that road is just atrocious. And they have a right to have good roads just like anybody else. They pay their taxes. It is a state parkway, so you would think that the state would be responsible for wanting to repair or renovate that roadway. It's really a tragedy that people have to drive on that road. It's a main tourist byway. It's a scenic byway, and it's an embarrassment.
The Lake Ontario State Parkway is a main route for hundreds of daily commuters. It's also important to businesses along the lake shore. But a stretch of the parkway in Orleans County is in such need of repair, the state DOT has put up signs warning of rough road. To get the full effect of just how jarring a ride on the parkway can be, a viewer suggested we take a glass of water along for the ride. You get the picture. Now imagine pulling a boat trailer or a camper on the parkway. Commerce that is vital to the business owners along the lake.
As far as the business side of it, I think it does impact on that.
Gatlin Ernst recently purchased Lake Breeze Marina in Kent, just off the parkway. But he realizes the boaters and charter fishermen he caters to could take their business elsewhere if they decide the parkway is just too much to take.
I came into this business hoping to support my family for a long time, and the parkway could be an impact on my future business.
So why is there no money to resurface this stretch of road? The State Department of Transportation says it's about priorities, and the parkway just doesn't get enough traffic to justify the costly improvements right now.
It's absolutely deplorable.
Sharon Narberg owns a grocery store, gas station, and tackle shop. She says she believes the crumbling Lake Ontario State Parkway has hurt her business. As a business owner, you pay taxes?
Plenty.
You think your taxes are being put to good use?
No, absolutely not.
What does the lack of attention to this parkway say to the business owners here?
Very difficult for them to continue to expand or attract any new businesses.
Orleans County legislator Ken DeRoller has been trying for some time to bring attention to the parkway's condition. He has directed town resolutions and letters from concerned citizens to the governor and other elected officials with no luck.
We need help, and we need the priority to get this situation resolved.
First looked at the EBT misuse, and we found that they were being used in liquor stores, at casinos, in strip clubs, a classic abuse of our tax dollars. After that story aired, there was an outcry by lawmakers to make some changes to make sure that that misuse wasn't happening. We went back and did it again. We found that the abuse wasn't as bad, but it was still being misused. There were still people using their EBT cards in liquor stores and in strip clubs.
Teresa Farley of Rochester is hoping to get a job working with computers. As she goes through a job training program, she relies on public assistance to help her get by and receives $127 a month in cash benefits through one of these, an electronic benefits transfer, or EBT card.
EBT was put out there for people that really need the help.
A few years back, we told you how EBT money was being accessed in some questionable places. Our investigation uncovered tens of thousands of welfare dollars being withdrawn from ATMs at local casinos, bingo halls, betting parlors, liquor stores, and strip clubs.
It's troubling to people when they see waste and abuse and fraud in a system that costs all of us money.
To comply with federal law, the governor last year put restrictions in place to curb the abuse. But is it working? Through a Freedom of Information request, we received a listing of every local ATM location where EBT cards were used from April to October of last year. And we discovered that people continued to swipe their EBT cards at ATMs in some of the targeted businesses after the new law was announced. So if these regulations aren't stopping this behavior, what do you need to be doing to make it stop?
Like anything, I think it's a combination of things. Clearly, there is a need for more enforcement.
We contacted the State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, which oversees EBT use. In an email, a spokesperson says they do targeted reviews of EBT transactions and then forward questionable ones to the proper licensing agencies. The State Liquor Authority has so far cited 40 businesses, 4 of them in Monroe County. In the meantime, other states have taken the restrictions a step further. In Missouri, lawmakers are trying to ban certain foods from being purchased with welfare money. In Kansas, welfare recipients are no longer allowed to use public assistance at nail salons, movie theaters, or tattoo parlors. Do you think that the state needs to expand the restrictions on EBT?
Should taxpayers be paying for a tattoo? Of course not.
Robert Hoggart is with the community group Metro Justice and says lawmakers are essentially declaring war on the poor.
I think it is to control the poor, humiliate the poor, and we should really be less focused on regulating EBT cards and more focused on regulating better pay.
But Farley says she's not offended by attempts to regulate where she can use her EBT card.
I don't think it was extreme. I really think they stepped in the right direction.
Now, the story we did on gas affects everybody. Everybody has to use gas. They drive a car, you drive a truck, you use it for your business, driving to your business. It affects everyone. So I knew when we did this story about gas that it was going to affect everybody and they would be interested in it. And they'd also be interested to know how much of that gas is tax. When you go to other states, you just go across the line. It's 20, 30 cents less. Why? So we went asking questions. Why is it so much more in New York? And over 50 cents, about 51 cents goes in state tax alone.
I used to travel for work a bit, so I've seen the difference in gas prices for states and things, and I've seen that we have pretty much the most expensive.
James Bailey works construction and has seen how low gas prices have gone in places he's traveled, like Indiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. The price at the pump bottomed out about 10 days ago at a national average of $2 a gallon, the lowest in 6 years. But here in Rochester, we never saw average prices dip below $2.45. Instead, it was consistently 40 cents more than the national average. And according to AAA, in January, Rochester was paying the highest gas prices in all of the lower 48 states.
I've definitely seen a difference. It's not much, but it makes a difference, especially when you travel a lot for work, like I do.
New York State does pay the highest state tax on gas in the country at nearly 51 cents a gallon. But that doesn't tell the full story. Neighboring New Jersey pays 35 cents less in tax, but prices at the pump are 47 cents lower. Connecticut, 6 cents less in tax, but 18 cents less at the pump than Rochester. So what's causing the high prices in Rochester? We took the question to Ralph Bombardier, the director of New York State's Association of Service Stations.
We look at the national average and it's still 40 cents less than us. Why didn't we see the savings that everybody else in the nation is seeing?
No, it's a volatile product. It changes day to day. It all depends on the transportation of the product into the area, how much it costs to bring the transportation in, and the competition.
So why can't we compete with Syracuse? Why can't that Rochester price be even lower?
Well, it could be all the way down and nobody makes any money. It's in Rochester.
Essentially, Bombardier says station owners are not collectively conspiring to charge more. They're just passing on the prices they're charged.
That's exactly what it boils down to. You have fewer options available.
Greg Lazowski monitors gas prices and trends across the nation for GasBuddy.com. He says Rochester's supply from refineries in Philadelphia and the Port of New York aren't exactly close.
Supply to Buffalo and Rochester from those refineries by necessity has to occur either by truck or by train. And those are obviously more costly alternatives. So that's a big part of the equation.
Meanwhile, drivers like James Bailey, who have to make a living driving all over the state and beyond, say a nickel here and a dime there really adds up.
It's frustrating, because you have to work harder and to just support traveling for work. So it's frustrating, but we get through it. We're Northerners.